joined in studio now by Bills team reporter Maddy Glab, as it is time once again after a victory for the Maddy Awards, which are presented, as always, by Energy Mark, the official energy supplier to the Buffalo Bills. Good afternoon, Maddy.
4 straight weeks in a row, we've tied our record to start the season.
Let's go.
Can we make it a couple more weeks heading into the playoffs?
Pretty crazy.
I've never, everybody's like, this is such a ho-hum win. You got won by 3 points over a bad team, and it's like, it is a low-energy Monday for a victory. You know it?
A little bit.
It really is.
A little bit. I'll give that to you.
It's a little downer. You know,
Have you
figure
had
like,
some callers? Have you had some
Well,
callers?
I mean, in
Maybe a
fairness,
little bit upset?
in
Okay.
comparison to the last two, electric come from behind victories.
over
I get it.
over teams that are
I
kind
get
of,
it.
you know, it's not really.
You get conditioned to think one way, and then that's just what you want, even
Yeah.
though you want a complete game.
Well, the irony
now
is-
it's like, well, what about the second half? What about the second half effort?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Come on.
The irony is everybody was demanding faster start. They get
Which
a
they
faster
did.
start, and then they
shut it
hang on
off.
by their fingernails at the end, and you know it has a totally different vibe to
Yeah.
it. But whatever. In any event, we will begin with the Chef's Special Award.
Man, James Cook helped cook up another delicious win for the Bills. He was hot off the bat, saw the field well against a top 5 defensive line. That 44-yard rushing touchdown that Cook had on the first drive, that first cut showed off so much confidence. He was running outside, then cuts back inside to what looks like a lot of traffic. But no, Cook knew the hole was going to open at the perfect time, rushes in for the touchdown, finishes with 117 on the day. Don't look now, but James Cook leads the NFL with 1,532 rushing yards. It's the most by a Bill since O.J. Simpson went over 1,800 in 1975. This dude is having a career year. And Josh Allen said, look, our offense, it runs through James Cook.
Yeah, and Steve and I just did a podcast last week talking about his candidacy for Offensive Player of the Year. I don't think he's gotten enough notoriety to be part of the small group of players in that company. I guess from what I've seen, the best odds are actually for Jackson Smith-Njigba, the receiver from Seattle, who's had a fantastic season. I'm not going to debate that for a second. I just find it hard for Offensive Player of the Year to go to a receiver unless they are far and away better than everybody else. And
Like
I know
a Triple
he's
Crown winner?
well,
Yeah.
or he's flirting with 2,000 yards, something like that. Bijan Robinson's got 2,000 yards total from scrimmage. He went over that yesterday. But he's playing for a team that's got like 4 wins. So, I don't know. To me, I think it should be Cook, Taylor, and maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba. Those are your candidates. I think those should be the top 3 candidates.
And James Cook's game yesterday is exactly a microcosm of what we've been talking about with the team. He had 100 yards in the first half and ended with 117. I mean, they just turned the water off.
Yeah.
You know,
He said, it's good enough. This is good enough to win.
It really seemed that way. And certainly the scoreboard told you that it was a close game at the end, when it got down like 23-17 kind of thing. But when you look on the field, I was like, I don't know. I never felt threatened. I knew this
I did
close,
at the
and
end.
I knew one play was going to get it, but they're getting to 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, then 4th down. I'm like,
I just get nervous at the end of those games when the Bills are not executing on opportunities that are there. Like Josh misses Shakir on the open over route. Knox drops the pass in the end zone. Cooks drops a pass when he's, it's right in his hands. That's when I get nervous. When you miss on multiple opportunities like that, sometimes it bites you in the rear end.
Cooks would have been a good, not a great catch, a good catch. You expect him to catch that, and he just didn't. So,
all right, the Flu Game Award.
Michael Jordan has his flu game. Game 5 in the 1997 NBA Finals. Left tackle Dion Dawkins had his flu game against the best pass rusher in the league in Myles Garrett. Dawkins was out for 2 days preparing for the best pass rusher in the league. And Garrett was just a sack and a half away from beating the single-season record. Dawkins was fabulous against the Cleveland Browns, just allowing a half sack that Garrett finishes the day with. He doesn't break the record, and Dawkins said, hey, I lost 14 pounds because of this flu, and it was a blessing in disguise because I was a little bit lighter on my feet. I could do my job better. So, way to go, Dion Dawkins.
Yeah.
When you missed 2 days of practice in preparation for one of the best players in the game, you did the dang thing.
And I think you got to credit the offensive staff, too. They put together a really good game plan for Garrett, with the help that they provided Dawkins with through the course of the game, whether it was David Edwards stepping that way a lot through the course of that game or other means by which they kind of set things up to leave Garrett in no man's land. They would step the guard that way, so he would try to line up further inside. Then he couldn't get to the edge to get around the corner. So, kudos to Aaron Cromer, Joe Brady, the offensive staff, Rob Boris for the way they kind of drew that thing up because they rendered Garrett, ineffective in that game.
We leading up to it all, we had people going, well, they got to chip him, they got to double team him, get a back over there to chip, they got to get a tight end on the outside. And yes, all of that's true, but they did everything, and they didn't let him know what it was going to be from snap to snap.
Yeah, they mixed it up a lot.
They'd have a couple of tight ends over there, and he'd have to line up inside, and then it wouldn't be the tight ends that protected. They'd slide the guard out, and the tight ends are gone on the pass route, or vice versa. Dion would set inside, and the tight end would come down. Mm-hmm. He didn't have a chance to get out ahead of it. He had to react, and that was, every player will tell you a plan is better, and particularly when you can execute the plan, but you don't have a plan when you don't know what you're going to face. And that was kudos to the offensive staff and the players, Dion and all the guys who were there with him that held Myles Garrett to a half sack.
The Slobber Knocker Award.
Defensive end Greg Rousseau was a slobber knocker against the Cleveland Browns. And if you're wondering, okay, slobber knocker, where does this come from? The defensive line has this award, and they have sweatshirts where it says the slobber knocker of the week. So it's an award that they coin each other throughout the season, and I'm giving it to Greg Rousseau. Rousseau turned it up a notch in the second half with his effort and physicality. The bartender said, hey, one last call, and Rousseau said, I'm going to have a few. That few was 1.5 sacks on Cleveland's final 2 drives when they had a chance to win. He had a sack that forced a turnover on downs and then forced intentional grounding on the last drive. He finishes with 2.5 sacks and 7 quarterback hits. Rousseau had a great game, and somebody had to step up on the defensive line, and Rousseau did it.
Yeah, also got credit for 9 quarterback pressures in the game, so he was active. But I think he essentially took that game over at the end. They needed somebody to step off on defense, and he did it down the stretch there in a big way. Like, I even said it on the broadcast. Coming out, we go into this game expecting Myles Garrett to potentially break the single-season sack record, and Greg Rousseau was the best pass rusher in the game at the most critical time in the game at the end. So kudos to him, man, for coming. I mean, that guy had 3 sacks going into the game on the season. He almost matched his season total yesterday with 2.5 by the time the game was over. All right, next one is the Secret Sauce Award.
The Bills have 4 straight wins. One secret ingredient behind those wins have been the takeaways. Buffalo's defense has done a fabulous job of showing up in the second half of the season, playing physical, playing together. The rush and coverage has been a lot better as of late. Since week 13, they have 7 takeaways. That ties for 3rd most in the league. In the second half, you can count them to spoil an opponent's plan. They've done a great job of coming from behind in the second half. They do it against the Cleveland Browns in the 4th quarter, really lock in and play a great final minutes of the game.
Yeah, those were huge in the first half because, it looked like it was going to be all too easy for the Browns offensively because they, first drive of the game, it looked bad for the Bills' defense. And then, the tipped interception, all of a sudden things change and the Bills are out in front. And, those were huge. And you can't overstate your ability to do that when you can. Joey Bosa's this tip pass here that Daquan picks off.
That was amazing.
It was amazing.
First interception of his life.
Of his entire
in competitive
life.
football.
That's crazy.
What a time to get it. But Joey Bosa, once again, keeping contained, doing the spin move. It makes a difference. It takes when your defense is in the shape that the Bills' defense is in. You don't know who's going to do it. Like for Cleveland, you kind of figure Miles is going to be a factor in anything they do. He's going to force Josh to run. He's going to force Josh to make a bad throw. He's going to do that. With the Bills' defense and the shape that it's in and the way it's built right now, with the injuries and the way it's progressed through the season, it's going to take all 11 guys, and at some point somebody's going to do a 1/11th that makes a difference, like Bosa did on that, like Poyer did, like Cole Bishop making the tackle. And certainly at the end of that, Rousseau closed the door, and that was amazing. That was a really unbelievable sequence he had there at the end of the game.
Yeah.
All right, the Surge Award.
The Surge is Buffalo's second half defense. Buffalo's defense put it together in the fourth quarter when they had to do something. Cleveland was down by just 3 points, and there was like 8.5 minutes left on the clock. So there's time to make something happen. Buffalo's defense did a great job of playing smart, fast, and physical football on their final 2 drives. Turnover on downs and a punt. Greg Rousseau led the charge with a sack and a half on the final 2 drives and forced intentional grounding. Again, in the second half, this defense has done a great job of showing up in the moments where they absolutely need to. Sometimes it's hard to be on a stage and you have to do something. Buffalo's defense has done it consistently in the second half of the season.
Yeah. I mean, I think everybody will agree. They're not perfect. They got some warts, some deficiencies. I think, as I've said all season long, I think it's due in large part to a lack of manpower on that side of the ball, due to important players. I mean, people, complain about their lack of a consistent pass rush. Well, their 2 fastest and most able-bodied pass rushers, Ed Oliver and Michael Hoyt, are lost for the season. Take the 2 best pass rushers off of any defensive front, they're going to struggle.
Yeah.
They're going to struggle. It's just the way it is. It's a matchup league, and you got some of your best pass rushers not part of the equation for the balance of the season. It's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So they're trying to do more with less, and they're finding a way to scrape by and make plays at critical moments.
Overstated, but there's 7 minutes and 5 seconds left in the game. The Browns they kick a field goal to get it to 3 points, and they get the ball back at the 7:05 mark of the fourth quarter. They go 4 plays, minus 5 yards on the drive, and they give it up on downs. Then in the next series, they get the ball back with 1:38, still down by the same 3 points. It's 4 plays, minus 11 yards net, and they got to punt it away, or they're gonna give the Bills the ball. It's a 4th and 32, or it's 4th and 23, or whatever. So
3rd and 32.
Those last two series for the Bills defense were absolute door slammers, and they deserve some credit for it.
All right, final one, the Making History Award.
With Buffalo's win over Cleveland, Bills head coach Sean McDermott now has 97 wins as Buffalo's head coach. That's the second most in a head coach's first 9 seasons, passing Paul Brown, who had 96. The Bills also have 11 wins in 6 straight seasons. It's the longest active streak in the league. Sean McDermott has been a fantastic coach for Buffalo for many reasons, but this year what sticks out the most is their second half adjustments. It's won them so many games throughout the year. Their plus 109 point differential in the second half is 38 more points than the team that's in second place. I mean, it has been dominant in the second half.
Yeah, and look, you can have your criticism all you want for Sean McDermott, but the last time I checked, most people say, just win, baby. Guy just wins. And look, I know he's never going to get credit for it because people are like, wow, you got Josh Allen. Well, the guy he just passed, Paul Brown, the Hall of Fame head coach and founder of the Cleveland Browns, he had Otto Graham as his quarterback, and they won 10 NFL championships together. Yeah. Like, most great coaches have great quarterbacks.
Yeah, well, it's like all these other coaches who are winning without a quarterback. Why can't our guy win with one?
I mean,
I don't know
I'm
who
sure
it is
you
that
can
they're
find
thinking
examples
of.
through the course of history.
Yeah.
Has Bill Parcells ever had a world-class quarterback? No. But Phil Simms was pretty dang good. I know he won a Super Bowl with Jeff Hostetler, but Drew Bledsoe got to another Super Bowl with the Patriots, didn't win. So, I mean, I'm sure you can come up with examples, but I don't know if you can find an example with this kind of staying power year after year after year after year. There are only a handful of coaches that have this many consecutive 11-win seasons, and most of them are in the Hall of Fame or are going to the Hall of Fame.
And they also did have a guy taking snaps. They had some stuff around him. No question about it. You look around the league, teams who win have a head coach and they got a quarterback. They got one or the other, and some of them got a quarterback, no head coach, and they're changing it up because they aren't winning 11 games.
Yeah.
A la the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Who've changed it a couple of times.
The Miami Dolphins, who just made a change
That's right. And
at quarterback.
And the Denver Broncos 2 years ago when they brought their guy in. And the Los Angeles Chargers, who had a quarterback and didn't have a head coach they liked. So it works both ways.
It's a symbiotic relationship, I believe, is what we're
What'd you
looking
call
for
me?
here. Exactly. It's my 50-cent word of the day. Maddy, thank you for this edition of the Maddy Awards. We'll see what happens this weekend. Hopefully there's another notch in the belt and a 5-game winning streak and another edition of the Maddy Awards Monday.
Would love it. Buffalo's searching for their first win against the Eagles since 2011.
It's been a minute.
Yeah.
Been a minute.